Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. It's another episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Encyclopedia. And you might be hearing that music in the background. That's because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, in just about 3 months, Saturday night's main event is back. And while the card hasn't been announced, I could tell you we know 2 people who will be at that broadcast. And first off, it's the good, the Reverend Jason Todd.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be jet lagged and exhausted, but I'm looking forward to it.
And this guy, the Encyclopedia. The bad's not allowed to come. Sorry, Devil's Advocate.
In the words of Pete Dunne.
No, I'm gonna do my Pete Dunne.
All right. So before we get nailed for copyright infringement, let's stop the music.
Don't be a butch.
Good one. All right. So yes, Saturday night's main event is back. Looks like it's going to be a quarterly special, and it's going back to the original channel it was on before, NBC. So I think we're looking at, it's been, 16, 17 years since the last one, since they tried to revitalize it in the mid-2000s?
Has it really been that long? It can't have been.
What channel was it on?
The last time it might have been on NBC, but it did have a run on Fox for a while.
Okay. I was going to say, I only remember it being on NBC, but yeah, now that I think about it, you're right. I think it was Fox, right, too?
Later.
Yeah, in the 90s.
But originally, I think it was an Ebersol thing, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm reading now, let's see, first televised run. Oh.
Is it going to be the 11:30 time slot?
I don't think so. So for those that have tickets, at least, it says 7:30 start time, so I think it's going to be 8 p.m.
That sounds right.
Do you think they're going to play it live, or do you think they're going to tape it and play it later?
No, I think it's going to be live.
Because remember, the original Saturday Night's Main Event, wasn't it on at 11:30? It took the place of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, but then when they revived it...
question, because in December, mid-December, I think SNL is off the air around then.
So I could see them running for you guys at 8, right, live, and it being taped for broadcast for 11:30. So it doesn't... I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I guess so. That part, yeah, whether it's been live or not, I guess hasn't been confirmed. It is the same night, at least. It is scheduled for December 14th. I figured it was going to be in prime time.
I mean, it very well could be, but if they're following the same format, it would be 11:30.
Prime time, they're saying, well, F your collision, Tony Khan. We're going to take your ratings this week.
I'm surprised he didn't lose his shit over it yet.
Well, he'll announce something.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly he's got...
I'm going to announce something.
Yeah. I don't know.
2 impressions already.
You're on a roll.
It did go back to NBC, by the way, in 2006, but it didn't last. It didn't last too long. The ratings were really bad back then. So this time, just like really the last time, it's supposed to be quarterly. Last time it was more twice a year that they were doing, but be that as it may, it's back. Really excited this time around. I know in the not mid to late 2000s, 2006, when it came back, I was speculating whether, I was excited, but at the same time, I was like, is this really such a good idea? I feel kind of differently about it this time, especially because I think at that point, college football's over, so they don't have to compete with that. And if I don't think we could look it up, but I think the NFL's limited Saturday games don't happen for another few weeks after that. So it's probably a good time to be at least trying it out again in December.
I think the way they are in business, it's the best time for them, though. So you know what? Why not? Let's see if people tune in this time. If everybody's watching everything else they do. Yeah.
And the format, I believe this time, and I'll be honest, I don't remember if the 2000s edition was, I don't remember how long those broadcasts went for. It looks like it was 1 hour back then, but this one's supposed to be 2. And just reading some of the info off Wikipedia, it looks like the last one only pulled a 1.4 rating. Eek. although nowadays on a Saturday, that's probably great for them. 2.5, 2.2, 2.6. So, and a 3.1 on the first one. But yeah, they were 1 hour on that return. And Rob, the first one, when they came back in 2006, it aired on a 1 hour tape delay. So it was same night. It was just an hour later than, I guess, the actual recording. But hopefully this run will be a little bit more about, a special event and not necessarily setting up stuff, because that first return in 2006, or I guess you could say the second turn, because there was the Fox run, but that 2006 return, the main event, you may remember, was John Cena and Triple H, the WrestleMania 22 main event, facing from the Raw side, facing the SmackDown main event of Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton. Yeah.
I've forgotten all about that.
Yep. Shane McMahon defeated Shawn Michaels by submission, because that was leading into Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. You had Mickey James and Trish Stratus, who were about to be opponents, teaming up, and there was a beer drinking contest.
Was that JBL and Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Why do I remember that? Oh, why do I remember that of all things?
I don't know. I mean, let's talk about some of our favorite, Saturday Night Main Event moments while we're going here. The one I remember it. I'm trying to confirm the date, but do you guys remember the one? It was going to be in a boxing match. It was Evander Holyfield versus Matt Hardy, and they had Michael Buffer do the announcements, and MVP handed Michael Buffer the index cards and goes like, "Read the card, read the card." And that was the first time we heard the. I think Michael Buffer was like, and he's half man, half amazing, and he's straight up balling. Yes. Like, wow, that was funny. And
I've forgotten so much of this.
Yeah, and the return on December 14th is going to be at the site of the very first one, the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, which, I'll be honest, our former co-host Stevie G, when I was texting him to see if he was interested, I got the arenas mixed up. I keep forgetting that the UBS arena is not a replacement for the Nassau Coliseum, that both arenas are still out there on Long Island, which is interesting. Rob, have you, I mean, I'll be honest, I've never been to a Saturday Night's Main Event. Have either one of you guys ever been to one? Okay, interesting.
Nope. Yeah, and I feel like when, well, I don't know, even how many times was it in New York? Or was it always in New York?
No, it wasn't. The last one that took place in New York was in 2007, and that was the one I just mentioned, and it was at Madison Square Garden. But going through, I'll go through the list here, but I don't think it happened that often.
Hershey a couple times.
Hershey, that's true.
Yeah,
Hartford.
Hartford. Well, was Hartford? Was that Saturday Night's Main Event, or was that the main event? That's the other thing.
Saturday Night's Main Event.
Okay.
In '86, November 15th, 1986. And
okay.
Oh wait, sorry, no, I'm on the wrong one. No, that's December 14th, 1986.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like they went to all sorts of arenas of all different sizes, honestly.
MSG 2007.
Yeah, that's the one I mentioned.
Yeah.
Long Island, the first one was in Long Island, and the second one was in East Rutherford. Yeah, it looks like, well, good. I'm glad they're going to be in New York.
And they're going to be in New York twice that month in that market, because they're still having their annual Boxing Day Madison Square Garden show on December 26th.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because some people were speculating that's the end of the MSG tradition. Nope, they're still doing it. Actually, the first three were in the New York area. We mentioned Nassau Veterans Memorial. Apparently, the second one was at the Brendan Byrne Arena, the Meadowlands. Yeah, and then the third one, no, not the New York area, but as you mentioned, Hershey Park Arena, which actually it looks like Hershey Park Arena might have hosted might be tied with now Nassau Coliseum for the most. I'm just scrolling through here.
Looks like maybe there were a couple in Detroit.
Oh, was there?
Yeah. So, 06 and
Hulk Hogan defeated Sika. Oh boy, that's a tough match.
Actually, it looks like Hershey Park hosted 3.
Oh.
They might be ahead. Yeah, because they hosted the 3rd one, the 12th one. I just saw this a second ago. The 20th. No. Favorite moments. What do you guys have? Anything? And actually, we didn't get Rob to answer. I think Jason kind of gave his opinion on it. Rob, do you think this is good, bad?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling on TV. I'm not really sure what this brings to the table, unless they're going to do something special. I don't really see what the difference is from a pay-per-view or a Raw or a SmackDown. So I don't know. I'm not overly thrilled. I mean, it's. I don't really even have a lot of fun. I'm going through these matches now. I don't really have a lot of fond memories. I can't tell you. Was what Randy Savage and Hogan split up right at Saturday Night's Main Event?
Yeah. No, that was the main event.
That was the main event. All right. So then I can tell you the only thing I probably remember is Jake Roberts giving Ricky Steamboat the DDT on the floor. But I'm looking through these matches. I don't remember 90% of these. So I don't have the warm and fuzzies that it sounds like you guys do for this.
All right. Well, here's a big one. And I vaguely remember the finish to this. The Brainbusters won the tag team championship from Demolition in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I think that was an Andre the Giant chair shot.
Huh. I feel like I do remember, and this is back in '89, Hogan and Bossman in the steel cage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
That one feels memorable to me, but
that was with Zeus. Zeus was actually standing outside the cage waiting as Hogan came out for that match.
That's right.
I think the first one was Hogan and Nikolai Volkov, if I remember correctly.
The first one? The first one is Hogan versus
Bob Orton. Okay.
Bob Orton. That's the second one you're thinking about.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it was like a flag
match.
Yeah. For me, the one that always stood out, and it might have been because it was like the first one I remember watching after becoming a full-time fan, it was actually in '92 when Shawn Michaels won the Intercontinental Championship from the British Bulldog. You might not remember, he had actually gotten the turnbuckle cover off, and towards the end of the match, Bulldog had went to whip, if I remember correctly, the sequence, he went to whip Shawn Michaels into that corner. Michaels reversed it, and Bulldog went in. And then a few moments later, Bulldog went up to the top, favoring his back, and went to hit a superplex on Shawn Michaels, and Michaels fell on top of him in midair and got the pin. It was also the last time, that same show was Bret Hart's first title defense against Papa Shango. And it was the only time we saw the Ultimate Maniacs get a tag team championship match. They faced Money Inc. And that was the lead into the '92 Survivor Series. And right as they went off the air, Bobby Heenan, I remember him saying that one of them will not be at Survivor Series, and he was trying to figure out who. And we never saw we didn't see Ultimate Warrior for almost 4 years after that.
It's that long-term storytelling there.
Yeah, they must have known something was going on because I don't think Bulldog was scheduled to lose the Intercontinental title, and then both he and Warrior got fired around that time. Anyway, moving on. Rob mentioned, how we keep getting more and more hours of wrestling. Well, I heard earlier today that there's another rumor that SmackDown starting in January is going to 3 hours.
So Raw's going to go to 2, SmackDown's going to go to 3?
Raw's 2 hours is supposedly temporary. It's only until they get to Netflix.
I can't imagine a 3-hour show on network television.
Well, SmackDown's on USA now.
Oh, that's right. They're going to USA, so maybe USA just wants their 3 hours, especially if they're losing
And is it still
NXT.
Friday night SmackDown?
Yeah.
3 hours on a Friday night.
And you can't even. And the rumor is that we're going to touch base a little bit on the rumors about the AEW TV deal, but there's one rumor going around that Rampage is going to end soon.
That doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me either.
It's basically dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody watches Rampage.
But what do you guys think about this 3-hour SmackDown?
I don't see that working on a Friday.
I don't like it. I really don't like it. I feel like, and this isn't just withheld to wrestling. This is something UFC's been doing for a long time. It's something I'm seeing happen in the podcast realm that it's not about quality. It's about quantity. More and more and more and more and more.
Yeah. There is that thing. And I think we always kind of talk about these shows within the lens of, they're producing television, and it's hard to produce wrestling television like at a quality level.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that concern that was WWE trying to move from that to just content creation. Because if it is that, then you don't care as much about the quality, and I don't see them going in that route, that direction. At least maybe that's just me being optimistic. I think they're going to try to keep the quality and keep things short and sweet. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Although you could really milk one of those bloodline entrances in a 3-hour SmackDown.
When they announced Raw was going to be 2 hours for a bit going into October, I was legitimately happy to hear that. I mean, Raw's gotten way better paced under Triple H's regime, but at the same time, I'm like, it's the same reason why I cringe at trying to get through an AEW pay-per-view. A lot of the content's too long. Like, I know WWE for their big four tends to go 3 to 3, they go 3.5 hours. But I think what I like, and I wish AEW would do this with their pay-per-views a little bit. WWE kind of has some breaks timed in there now, where if you're not paying for the ad-free version of Peacock, like me, you get a little bit of a break thanks to those ads that they throw in there. They might have backstage segments where one thing we've always said AEW pay-per-views, while the matches are, for the most part, usually good to great, it's a chore to get through them all, and it's because they literally just go, one match ends, the next one, within a few seconds, the next match is coming out already, and it's like, give it a chance to breathe. Let's let the fans come down a little bit. And I think I know we discussed recently a few times where Mercedes Moné's match is not getting the same reaction. And sometimes I think specifically it was All Out where I said Mercedes Moné's match against Britt Baker, which was supposed to be one of the main events, didn't come off very well. And the crowd didn't seem into it until the match was almost over. And I think part of that was they were still coming down from the high of the preceding match that happened before it, which I believe was Ospreay and MJF, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which, I mean, good luck to anybody who has to follow that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't know. I just hope keep it to 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I mean, SmackDown runs fine at 2 hours. Why change?
The only thing I could think of is, well, USA wants their pound of flesh.
Well, they got content. They, like you said, they need 3 hours. Otherwise, they got to plug in something else. So,
move WWE speed from Twitter to USA.
Have either one of you even watched any of that?
No, I haven't.
I've only caught clips of matches, which I mean that tells you about my level of ADD, because I can't even sit and watch a whole speed match, and it's only 3 minutes.
It's in concept itself, it's disingenuous because they're basically telling you a match is going to end in 3 minutes or whatever, no matter what.
Yeah.
Which is not the nature of wrestling. Wrestling is supposed to be the match ends when it's supposed to.
That's not entirely true, because tournaments traditionally do have time limits, and
but not 3 minutes.
Speed is presented as a time limit. As a tournament, it's just saying, hey, you got to take care of this in 3 minutes, and maybe it's on a point system. And this is me not knowing the full structure of that show or of that tournament.
I thought you said you didn't watch it, but
I don't think
we do.
But I do know it's a tournament because they crown a champion after a certain amount of time.
Well,
but it's not
the first time it's a tournament. The tournaments after that are to decide the number one contender. Okay. That's my understanding. I only watched 1 or 2 matches, and I was like, all right, it's interesting, but this is like the pace of a jobber match. What do you expect from a jobber match in the 80s and 90s? You know, those matches you expect to go 3 minutes, not 2 top stars. What the other thing I find interesting is they make mention of the speed champion, like currently being on Andrade whenever he's wrestling, but he never comes out with that belt. It's like, why didn't you like do crossover with that?
I didn't even know he was the champion at this point. So, I mean, that's how poorly they've instructed it. And right, I mean, that's like having a championship belt that no one talks about.
Ricochet, I think, had it.
I think that's why Andrade's the champ.
The Ricochet had it, then they murdered him. And then, I mean,
it was like how it goes. They're treating it worse than a 24/7 belt, because at least that one would show up on TV, even though some people wouldn't defend it, or, you know, I mean, what's her name? Walked around with it for like it was the most important champion, and then they got thrown in the trash.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yes. I don't know. If it's
Dana Brooke, remember when Dana Brooke, she walked around with that book on her? And I'm not defending. This isn't being defended tonight. Wait a minute, it's a 24/7 belt. Is it always supposed to be defended? Or who is it? Becky Lynch was like, "Yeah, I don't want that belt. I'll wrestle you tonight. I don't want that." You want to wrestle for this belt? No. I'll beat you up, but I don't want your belt.
Only one person ever wanted that belt. That's our truth. And that's the only time the belt ever felt special.
He was a 24/7 galactic,
I-95.
North Carolina, I-95. Yeah, I can't remember his rap. He had so many different... only our truth can do it, right? I can't do it justice.
No, that's true. It's something so ridiculous that only our truth can say it and make it sound fun.
I think a great segment would be an R-Truth Scott Steiner interview session, because R-Truth would be the only one that would understand Scott Steiner's math.
Oh God, can you imagine? They should do a backstage segment with those two.
Could Santino Marella come back and moderate that?
I'll tell you what. There's I don't know if you guys saw it. There's a clip on YouTube, and it's the best of Santino Marella. And I must have watched it, I don't know, last week like 3 or 4 times, and I laugh hysterically every time. And my wife and daughter look at me like I'm an idiot. But John Cena, the way he massacres names, and it rolls right off the tongue, and like he does not break character ever. I mean, he should have his own wing in the Hall of Fame just for being that.
That was us. That was a special run of wrestling, because he was maybe the best comedy act.
I don't know. I guess R-Truth gives him a run, but
yes,
Santino is.
But R-Truth is almost like he'd have his own wing too, because
true.
They're both so. I don't know.
It doesn't come off like an act.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Maybe we should do this as a watch along next week. I didn't watch the clip, but did you see Santino was working for TNA, and his wife, his daughter Ariana Grace
from NXT, who's now the liaison to TNA liaison.
Yeah, newsflash, folks. That's really his daughter in real life. What? What? No. If you're listening to the show, you already knew that. Come on.
It was very sweet. I saw the clip of that. It was both funny because he becomes this doting father, and he's just so excited, and she looks like an embarrassed kid.
Yeah.
So
maybe if Charlotte Flair had done that with Rick a few times.
All right.
We kind of went off topic, but the focus of wrestling and entertainment being more content, the TV money seems to be the most important thing. WWE came out last week and we didn't cover it, but the touring schedule, they're cutting down dates. I believe they were at 300 events in 2023. They're down to 250 this year, and they're going to be down to 200. So there's been some talk in the wrestling world, especially, I think some of the legends recently on their podcasts had discussed whether this was good or bad. And one of the theories was that it might be good for the superstars under contract because more time at home, less time on the road. But the other thing is it could be bad because repetition, that in-ring work, especially on a non-televised show, is going out the window. And it was purely a business decision. If this is true, the dirt sheets are saying that it's because it's not really profitable. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is good? This is bad? Rob, I'm sure you have a strong opinion on this. What do you think? Reducing the number of dates on a yearly basis that WWE is doing.
I mean, it's good for the wrestlers and it's bad for the wrestlers. It's good in the fact, like you said, that they'll be home more often, right? So they have some semblance of a life. They're not constantly moving around from arena to arena, city to city. I don't think it's such a bad thing as far as ring time. I mean, you can always get ring time. That's when they set up the ring, hours before the show starts, right? Get in the ring. Get your work in. Work with your coach, work with your opponent, get in there and get that work done. I don't know how often that's happening anymore, and I think maybe it'll go back to that. So I mean, I guess if I had to weigh it, I would say it's definitely more good than bad. I think we're gonna see maybe they'll be a little more revitalized, because they're not working as much. A guy like Randy Orton isn't going to be breaking his ass every night. It'll take a little less strain on your older guys. So I'm a fan. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, the days of 300 nights a year is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know why anybody would even want to do that. I don't want to work 5 days a week. I can imagine having to work 300 days out of the year, missing Christmas, missing Thanksgiving, twice on Sundays.
Do you work 5 days a week though? Do you really?
Well, I log in. But I think I'm speaking for all of us there. So,
Jason likes to work.
I put in some work every so often.
Did I ever? I have to send you the thing I got. It says I give 100% of work, and it breaks down by day, and it's like 16% on Monday and 20% on Tuesday.
Oh, that's legendary.
Yeah. I think it'll be good in the long run. I think, like I said, it'll cut down on injuries and burnout. I think, remember back in the day, Ric Flair would say he worked 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. I don't know how true that necessarily was, but I know it was a lot. I mean, I know they would work sometimes 2 shots on the weekend on a Saturday or a Sunday, and maybe 5 days out of the week. So I mean, I think it'll be good in the long run. I think I don't think they should be working that much, especially what they put their bodies through now in comparison.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. When AEW first came,
no, go ahead.
When AEW first started coming about, one of the complaints we had was the sloppiness we saw sometimes in the ring, in that it was a lack of repetition and a lack of having matches, and that being mainly because back then it was a 1 day a week show. No concerns over that creeping back in?
Well, like I said, if they make the right concessions, So maybe the less days on the road means one day at the training center, or one day, you show up the day before the show and we work out in the ring. And I think you can make adjustments.
What about the lack of a crowd, though?
Well,
You're
I
not-
mean, you're working in front of your peers.
I mean, I think it
look,
helps with ring psychology in some respects, but the other
agreed.
respects,
But I
there's
mean, look,
certain things without a
it doesn't seem to
crowd's
be all that
react.
important. I mean, they put
Well,
people in the ring now who are not ready to be in the ring, right? I think I'm trying to remember. Like, I think Lash Legend was the last person we kind of roasted for that.
She
Maybe Jade
improved
Cargill a
overnight.
little bit.
yeah,
And
but
Both
to
of
that
them.
point, though, they improved in front of the crowds. I mean,
Mm.
your point is right. They can put in reps in the back and like get
Well,
their
we
moves
know Lash
down and
Legend was doing that.
understand that,
Yeah.
understand their that part of the psychology. Why would I do this at this point in time? Why would I do that? And how to execute the move and the timing of it and all that. But there's only one way you know if what you're doing is working, and that's in front of a live crowd. And and on top of it, I don't know if you've had to do this before, but even if you get good at something, turning around and doing that in front of a live audience adds a huge factor.
I agree
So I
with
do
you,
feel kind of bad for
but
that.
it
There's
doesn't seem
ways
that,
around it, but
it doesn't seem that important, because they put people in the ring who are not ready anyway. That doesn't really, right? You know what I mean? Like
you're
Triple H isn't
watching
like,
them
you're not ready to
learning.
be in the ring, and you're not going to get there until you're ready. They just put them out there and they let them work it out as they go in a lot of cases. I mean, I've watched enough
Right.
NXT to see got people that don't belong in the ring in front of a crowd, and that there they are doing it on TV in front of a crowd. They don't. There doesn't seem that you're not ready yet. It
Mhm.
seems like get out there and you'll figure it out as you go. So that's no longer I don't think that's a relevant point anymore. I think when they put you out there, you're ready to go, and you just have to figure out as you go.
So okay, so now then the question becomes, will audiences, and they have been to an extent already, but this is really gonna kind of shift it. Are people ready to fully accept the idea of, well, some of these guys, we're watching them learn on the fly?
That's what NXT is, isn't it?
Yeah, but
They
then you
don't put
can,
them on. They don't put them on immediately, though. There's so
yeah,
many
no,
that we
That-
see signed, and they don't appear on TV for 6-10 months in a lot of cases.
yeah. If you want to
Yeah.
see some people from some NXT folks who aren't ready for even that level, watch Level Up. Like those are folks who just got out of the performance center and now they're giving them, I guess those are really their dark matches, but I think it's great though for them to have less days on the road, especially with a lot of the international travel. Like even me saying, oh, they're not going to get those reps in. No, the fact is their bodies are going to be bodies healthier, minds at rest. You get to see your family, do have a life. It's 2024. That's where we're at. People should have a life. I only feel bad because when you cut out 50 dates, it's probably going to be in those areas where they don't think they make enough to make it worth the trip. And that's like the corporate decision. We don't make enough to make it worth the trip, not necessarily the wrestling company's decision. Oh, well, this audience would appreciate it, or this audience would appreciate it, or this crowd's worth going to because they're tough on people, or this crowd's going. So I feel kind of bad for those areas that are going to get cut out. So hopefully they do it in such a way where those fans would still have access.
Don't you
To go
think that would
somewhere.
lead to a rise of independent wrestling?
Hopefully. I mean,
If
and
they're,
maybe that would be the benefit. That, hey, okay, well, you're not getting WWE, but you're getting these companies. And what we've also seen with WWE, that some of their guys, they have the green light to go show up at certain places. So maybe that does allow it to happen. And you
I
get,
mean, and there's where you get your ring time in front of a crowd. right? Granted, it's not 17,000 at the whatever arena, but it's 100 people in a bingo hall, and I mean,
which
maybe that's the trade-off.
that's
Maybe this
part.
leads to more fertile ground for WWE and I was gonna say Impact. Well, I guess TNA and NWA and AEW to find people, because now there'll be more of a rise of independence.
That would be interesting, and it would be a great. I think that would be great if that happens, and so hopefully it does.
Isn't it funny how we might be going full circle, where we went from the independents with some major organizations to one or two major organizations, and now it seems like we're going back. The independents are kind of rising up again, and we may end up at a point where we have territories again.
That would be interesting. Can you have territories in in this era, the information age?
You kind of do with the indie companies, though. Not too many crossover. And I'll throw out one example. Northeast Wrestling, which have been to at least a dozen of their shows. They're mainly based out of the Connecticut area, for the most part nowadays. Sometimes they creep into the Orange County and Rockland County area of New York, but that's it. And I remember specifically, Russell Pro was a big outfit in the Newark Airport suburb area, and Northeast Wrestling one time ran a show in Clark, about I'd say 2-3 miles down the street from where Russell Pro was running in Rahway the next day. And I was all excited because I love to go into Northeast Wrestling, and I thought I only have to drive 10 minutes. I'm usually driving an hour and a half, 2 hours to see some of their shows. The Clark show, I think, I'm not exaggerating, had about a dozen people. And I was like, what? And I think the main event, if I remember correctly, was like Matt Hardy was in the match, and Booker T, I remember, made an appearance, and there was only 12 people at the entire show. And I was like,
I don't know why they even ran that show.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you knew ahead of time you only sold 12 tickets. Were you expecting like a large walk up?
I don't know. I think what happened was they figured they would give it a try, and I think the mistake they made is they ran it the same weekend as Russell Pro, which has a pretty cult-like following in that area. And it was the very next day. So yeah. I think it was bad timing. I think if they had done it on maybe a different weekend, they might have done a little bit better. Especially because Russell Pro isn't known for bringing in like WWE legends that often. And if you've heard that name, I think I don't know if they still are, but they had a syndicated run on, I think it was New York 55 in the New York area for a while. Because I remember when they brought that out, I watched a couple episodes, and it was interesting, because there were people I recognized from the indies, but it felt very old school 90s ECW style in the commentary and the shooting style. So, and they're still going strong. I don't know. I feel like the indies are become the new territorial system, and I think that gets overlooked and not talked about enough. But it's more smaller territories than what we had back in the day.
Yeah, I mean that's where AEW got a lot of their people.
Yeah.
Right when they first started, Orange Cassidy, Ricky Starks, all of them were all indies. And they started recruiting all the WWE, ex-WWE people, and I think that's one of the mistakes they made. Is I think they should have kept going with bringing in new talent.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole other conversation. But I'm wondering, I wonder if we're going to see, like I said, the rise of the independents. Where there's a ton of them out there now, but I mean, in those areas that aren't getting serviced by the majors, I wonder if we're going to see more of that. And then the majors tapping into them more often.
If that happens, Tony Khan would be well advised to do something with Ring of Honor, because that would be like he could pick an area and say, you know what, this is where Ring of Honor is now. This is its home. I mean, there's not enough wrestling in this area. This is where Ring of Honor is going to hit.
I thought he should have used Ring of Honor as his farm system.
That was the rumor originally.
It was.
And for whatever reason, it's not. It's whatever it is now. Their world champion losing to people on the show on a regular basis.
Always going for other championships.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the first thing I would do if I got control of AEW is make Ring of Honor my farm system.
I consider Ring of Honor. Actually, I'd like Jason's idea, making it a smaller touring company, like going to the same arenas that NXT used to hit during that Black and Gold era, like your Mid Hudson Civic Centers, for example, um, and some of the locations that ECW used to run back in the day. Those smaller arenas. I think Ring of Honor. That's what really put them on the map way back in the 2000s. Was those kind of crowds. So I would Ring of Honor is an interesting case because you could argue that they're probably actually getting more viewers now than they did during that cult run. With the Honor Club and the exposure by AEW, they were never on a major cable network before. But it's at the same time, it's looked at as, it gets overlooked by the fans that are really into the top two companies. And I'll be honest, I think Mark Briscoe being on AEW now, it's more because of his character gets over and gets a reaction.
I think so.
And I think it just happened to be the timing that they had the Ring of Honor belt on him at the same time. Because the longest reigning Ring of Honor Women's Champion of all time has not been in an AEW in years.
Nope.
Not that I'm complaining.
The word of the day is...
Is that her shtick? I don't even know.
No, that's Mark Briscoe's.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
His interviews are better than his matches.
That's fair.
You were so eager to run down Athena that you forgot what Mark Briscoe does.
I know, just talking about her made me dumber.
And that somehow Kyle O'Reilly got a personality out of it too, which is, I think, even funnier.
Yeah.
They got to keep them. They got to keep him close by though, because it seems to wear off after like 20 yards or something.
The Mark Briscoe effect. You have to stay in his universe, or you lose all your powers.
Right. Yeah, but and I know Tony Khan's got mentioned here. So why don't we move on to AEW for a few minutes?
Sure.
Specifically, there's a couple rumors about TV. Specifically, and he apparently was interviewed, and he's still not revealing anything. But the latest rumor is, and I believe the site is Puck, if I remember correctly, that's reporting this, and I think he actually drew attention to this. But rumor is the deal's for 3 years with a 4th-year option, broadcast on TNT, TBS, and True TV with, I think, 2, and the broadcast would be twice a week, whatever that means. Though I think one of the theories is that it would be first run on TNT and TBS like we're seeing now with Dynamite and Collision, and True TV would get the replays. That's the rumor. There's also a rumor Rampage, as I mentioned earlier, is probably going away. And the number they're supposedly getting is in the ballpark of 170 million per year, which is more than double what they're supposedly getting now, which I believe is 70.
Oh.
I'm in shock because that show's been, especially Dynamite, the ratings have been going on a downward trend. Why would you pay them more than double? Unless you're making that much on ad money.
Yeah, but you're missing out on the point. Number one, it's content that they don't have to produce, because all TNT and TBS do are show reruns basically. So it's fresh content. So whatever ratings they're getting, it's better than whatever they get when they rerun The Big Bang Theory or whatever else is there.
Burn Notice.
And number two, whatever. What's that?
Burn Notice reruns.
Yeah, whatever all those shows are, whatever, it's Charmed, reruns. I mean, come on. And number two, I forgot my number two. All right, I'll come back. I just forgot. It zipped right out of my head. I had a number two and I forgot it. Oh, I know what I was going to say about Rampage. I mean, they book Rampage like they don't give a shit about Rampage.
They do.
Like, if you could think of the shittiest booking, that's Rampage. Like, I read the results and I'm like, if I was at this show, I wouldn't watch this show. This whole show was a bathroom break.
I'm trying to remember. Rampage they would do before the Dynamite airing, right? I'm trying to remember the order they did. I can't believe
Rampage
it went twice.
was always after.
Rampage is after. That's right. So it seems just like Rampage is an episode where, well, if you haven't driven away yet from the arena, hey, come put your gear back on.
We got some other guys here, that want to get some ring work in.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, but I mean, it didn't start out that way. Rampage started out as like a continuation of Dynamite. Like it was actually booked. Well, they tried to book it.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, they just gave up. I mean, it is in a dead slot. I mean, who's watching TV Friday at 10? I mean, I love wrestling, and I'm not watching Rampage Friday at 10 o'clock. I'm either watching something else, or I'm in bed, or, it's just the worst slot ever. So I don't know why they even bothered. Like, I'll go back to what I originally said about trying something different, a woman's show or something like that. I think they just went safe. And I'm curious to see with this extra deal, if they got this third show, what's going to be different? Why do I want to watch it? What are they going to, how are they going to hook me? I mean, I love Dynamite. Dynamite's one of my favorite shows. I think it's got some great wrestling on it. I watch Collision from time to time. I don't always watch it every week, but I try to. I don't watch Rampage at all. So if you get rid of Rampage, you're going to put on a third show. What am I watching that's going to be so great? What would get you guys to watch a third AEW show? Just out of curiosity. Encyclopedia, you got anything you could think of that AEW could do to get you to watch a third show?
No, because I don't love what they're putting on now. I only watch Dynamite. I don't even bother with Collision.
Right. Reverend?
AEW trios. Non-stop trios matches. Only it feels dirty when you say it.
I want to see the Eddie Kingston Entertainment Hour is what I want. With his co-host Jay Briscoe.
Give me a little bit of Danhausen.
So,
give me like
Mark
15
Briscoe,
minutes of Danhausen.
All right, so let me throw this out there, though. Okay.
Like a Tonight Show with Danhausen as the sidekick.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys ever watch it on YouTube. They do a brilliant talk show on YouTube, Hey EW, and it is just that guy RJ City, and he interviews all those guys. Sometimes they're in kayfabe, sometimes they're not. He interviewed Abaddon, and all she did was grunt at him for 5 minutes, and then he asked one other question, and she gave half a dissertation, like on the legal ramifications of some law that got passed, and then she went back to grunting, and that was the whole episode, and it was hilarious. He did one with pretty much every legend that came through: Flair, Steamboat, Sting. Like, he had all of them on that show. That's good content, but they could put that on TV. It would be fine. It was like low production value.
What if they did like a watch along?
They've done those on YouTube. They do those on their YouTube.
Like, what if you had like Danielson and McGuinness watch one of their Ring of Honor matches together with a third host and talk about it?
I'd prefer they do that a few years from now, because I don't want them to.
Well, I was just throwing out them as an example. I was saying, how about we rewatch some of the highlights of the first Dynamite? We have some of the people who were on it.
That's something, yeah. That would make sense.
I'm just throwing ideas
5 years
out.
in. 5 years in, I was surprised they never did that.
You can have a couple live matches, but I'm trying to think of something else that I might want to watch that might be different.
What was the show that Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan hosted, and there'd be a match here and there, but really the show was those two?
Was that Tuesday Night Titans?
No,
was that it?
That was a Vince McMahon talk show style. That was like a Tonight Show style.
Yeah, I don't remember what Gorilla and
that was Primetime Wrestling.
Primetime Wrestling, yes. Thank you, Primetime Wrestling. Do a throwback like that.
I don't think that would get any ratings.
Try it. There's nothing in the slot now. If it exists and they get one person, that's one person more than they had when Rampage was running.
I'm talking about. I wouldn't be so worried about ratings. I'd be more worried about, let's try and put out something. We're calling ourselves the alternative to WWE. If we just throw wrestling matches out there, it's just like every other damn show. So what else can we provide to the fans that they might want to watch other than straight wrestling?
I think the problem is they also tried that reality show, which in a lot of respects reminded me of like Total Divas and Total Bellas. They tried to, I think it was AEW All Access was called, and it was basically the same thing all over again. Yeah. So
and then WWE did an All Access and did it better. So.
Well, they've been doing that for the 24/7 network as well for a long time. So, I mean, the was 24, the WWE 24, I think it was called, or something like that. Anyway, I mean, you threw out primetime wrestling. I think the problem is back then you had primetime wrestling, which was, I think, 2 hours a week, and you had Superstars of Wrestling and you had Wrestling Challenge. It was 4 hours. Well, their top brands, both companies are putting out at least 4 to 5 hours of content a week. And that's two separate companies. So how much is too much? I mean, and the argument I was going to make about Dynamite getting, and AEW in general getting like 170 mil for, I guess it's 4 hours of content a week, which I'm still surprised at. And you're talking about the cost to produce that versus other first run stuff. Well, I'm going to throw this out. Impractical Jokers was for a long time getting way more ratings than Dynamite ever did. I'm sure that cost way less to produce than AEW does. And what you're paying out for that. I mean, what did Impractical Jokers do? They rented out a space every once in a while, or they did it out in public and pranked people. Couldn't have caught. I doubt it came anywhere close to even what AEW is currently getting, which I think everyone was 70 million.
But I don't think they can. I don't think they're in a position right now. They're in a good position because if they just got that deal, they're obviously in a good position. But I don't think they're in a position to worry about what someone else is doing, except maybe WWE and TNA. And the reason why I brought up the primetime wrestling is I can't tell you a single match that I remember from that show. But I remember Mr. I think it was Macho Man asking Mr. Perfect to be his partner. Yep. And I remember Bobby Heenan turning to Slick, asking him if he says, you do funeral services and all that. I remember him asking him, well, how do you get the gold teeth out of a dead person? That's what I remember. I remember those guys, and I remember Gorilla Monsoon losing his shit at his antics. So to me, that would be different now because, like you said, there's a lot of in wrestling hours, like in ring hours that we're getting. But AEW could try to take advantage of some of the personalities they have, and just, I don't know, just let them try. If they're giving you an extra hour, try it. See what happens. I mean, they cash the check first, but then try it.
Well, of course, cash the check.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I think you want to be an alternative. You got to come up with alternative ideas. Maybe poll some fans, see what they think. Would you watch a all ladies wrestling show? Would you watch a show with, which is not wrestling centric? Maybe we have interviews and, that kind of stuff.
The company's run by a fan. Let's be honest here.
All right, but I mean, you're coming up with all the complaints. You don't have any suggestions. So
because I'm not for this to begin with.
You don't think a fourth idea or a third hour is a bad idea?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. And the rumor that, and I get where Fox never said that SmackDown was a bad show. Fox said their return of investment wasn't high enough to warrant what they were paying. So there's a rumor that AEW might get a third show and it would be on something like Fox because Fox knows they could get a contract with maybe an Impact or with an AEW and pay way less than they did for WWE. And let's see if we get that a return of investment we were looking for. And again, this is Wrestling Dirt Sheets reporting this, so I don't know how true this is, but I believe AEW trademarked the name Shockwave. Possibly a third show.
Please not be a wrestler.
At least it's not the Shockmaster, right?
Bring the Shockmaster back.
I don't know. I think
his nephew, the Shockwave.
I mean, I think there's too much content as there is. I don't, and I've said it I don't watch Collision. We all confirmed none of us watch Rampage. I know, Rob, you don't watch NXT, and let's be honest, part of that is got to be factored in with the number of hours of wrestling that's already out there.
Yeah. No, look, I'm going under the assumption that they're doing that extra hour and that's it. So I'm trying to come up with something that might draw some fans. I understand where you're coming from, but you're going the other way. It's a bad idea. I don't even want to entertain it. I'm going from they're already going to do it. So what are they going to do with that hour?
Okay, the ratings keep sliding down and down, so I don't think there's interest there. I don't see how adding more content's going to solve it. But
do you think wrestling on TV itself is there's just too much, and that's what the issue is? Because it seems like WWE is doing great. Their the network seems to be doing well. Their arena shows sell out, their pay-per-view sell out, but their ratings are still not. I mean, they're nowhere close to what they used to be.
I mean, we live in the streaming era. Yeah, anything on TV, live television, network television.
Right. So I mean, so
down.
Any investment by any TV, you're not going to make the money you think you're going to make because TV is just not. The money is just not there. Right.
I think you make the money back in one ad revenue for TV channel for networks.
It's become their primary income.
Goes into their library. So yeah, I mean,
look, let's be honest. WWE's two biggest streaming sources of revenue are the TV deals and the Saudi blood money. Did I go there? Shit.
I mean,
but look, let's be honest. AEW is being kept afloat by, we're assuming, con money, but also the TV deal. If they don't have a TV deal, I mean, I don't know. The Khan family might still pump money into it.
I mean, Tony Khan might just say, okay, I'm going to promote wrestling shows in these towns now. I mean, he might just do that if he can't get on TV anymore, or he'll be like, Daddy, buy me a TV station. But
I also find it interesting that Warner Brothers, I think it came out in some of the business reports a few weeks ago that they have $9 billion in the red, but they're signing $170 million a year TV contract. I don't get that. Like, they've been cutting stuff left and right. I mean, what was it? Batwoman. The movie was pretty much done, ready to get released, and they were like, "No,
apparently good.
We're not pumping any more money into this." Like, what?
They teased Henry Cavill coming back as Superman, and then cut his contract. Like, no.
That's The Rock's fault. Remember, it was The Rock's fault.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. And look, DC. I've always been a DC over Marvel guy. Notwithstanding, I know DC's content compared to Marvel has been crap. DC has their moments, but Marvel's blown
away. On you.
Not the cartoons. The cartoons have been lit. They never miss with those. That's where they make all their money, is on those animated series.
Okay, what's making more money though, Marvel's movies or DC's cartoons?
So I'm saying DC's in comparison to what they're doing. Like, all their movies are basically tax write-offs. Like, the cartoons, that actually generates interest and revenue, like continuous revenue.
Well, let me finish my point. Warner Brothers, as far as properties, DC is one of the few things they have that was profitable, and they're even cutting the legs out from under that. So they have money to pay AEW. I find that interesting, especially at $170 million a year. I mean, if they came back, if they told Tony Khan, "Look, we're going to pay you what you're getting now, or maybe we'll give you an increase by maybe $30 million." Who else is going to pay AEW that kind of money? Maybe Fox, I guess. But why would you? Especially when they can't even clear 1 million viewers 99% of the time. And the arena crowds are getting smaller and smaller. I still find it crazy. I mean, I was watching last night's Dynamite, and you see Ospreay and Okada in the ring together. Japan, that's selling out the Egg Dome. Here, what'd you get? Maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people tops. And you don't hear them bragging about AEW being the better company. You don't hear them saying that lately. And I think most of these guys, I think that A, they know they sound ridiculous when they say it now, and B, let's be honest, and I don't blame them for this. They're getting paid. That's all they're worried about. And 99% of them, yes, Okay, fine. You were fans at some point. You want to be the biggest star. Maybe you want to have dreams of main event of WrestleMania, WWE, or being a top draw now, I guess, in AEW. That could be a dream now. But most of them, it's about the money they're making. Let's be honest here. I mean, prime example, Ricochet flat out said he screwed up with a lot of his WWE run. He could have done better. So wouldn't that motivate you to do better in WWE, or he ran to AEW? I guarantee you, AEW offered him more money. I guarantee you, I don't think WWE would pay Jericho what AEW is paying him.
No, I think Jericho said that in an interview when he first went. I think him and McMahon talked about that. He's like, well, we can't pay you that.
Well, I think, but when Jericho and Kevin Owens did not main event WrestleMania, Jericho had already made up his mind he was out.
That's fair.
I mean, how much money did they pay an over the hill Sting?
Yes. But also, I feel like something you said there, it's true. They're in it to make money.
Yeah.
I heard if you say Sting's his name 3 times, he comes up, he shows up in your room. So I wouldn't say his name 2 more times.
Did you go see the movie you're referencing, the sequel?
We're going Sunday.
All right, I want to report because I rewatched the original for only the second time in my life a few weeks ago.
How do you feel about that movie?
The original?
Yeah.
That's great.
Does it still hold up?
I look, I saw it late in life. I thought it was really good. I don't even the sequel, I'm like, there's other movies I want to see before that, but I'll probably, if I have time, if I ever make the time, I'd go see it.
I just remember them making a cartoon out of it when I was a kid.
I was more into that, but
I don't know how they tricked us with that, because none of the shit that happens in that movie should have been made into a cartoon. None of it.
I thought the cartoon was great.
It was.
I had strict parents. I could more easily access the cartoon than I could the movie.
The movie was PG. You couldn't watch a PG movie?
When I was 7 years old? Probably not. I had to go to my friend's house to watch anything over PG-13 when I was like 13 years old.
Look how you turned out. Didn't matter at all.
PG is like a pejorative now, though. PG we hear and we think, oh, that's for the kids, but that wasn't what PG meant back then.
PG, man, some of the movies.
G was for everybody.
Right. Some movies I see now that are PG now would be R.
There was no PG-13 for a long time. Like
that's right.
There was I think it was Funny Lady with Barbra Streisand. My mom said, like, she had it on VHS, and I was like, Mom, it says PG. I was like 10. I didn't know any better. My mom's like, that was when there was no such, it went from PG to R. You're not watching this. I never did. I don't care at this point. But when I was a kid, I was like, well, it said PG. I should be able to watch this.
There were several movies that I watched as a kid that I'm like, this is no way I should not have been able to watch this.
Yeah.
The content is way too, like, this is not PG. This is R.
When I was teaching, we had the kids all day on a holiday. And we said, oh, we'll watch a movie. The Goonies. Sure. I loved this as a kid. They'll love the Goonies. So we all put on the Goonies. And maybe 15 minutes in, after like the 30th profanity and then like all the guns and all this stuff, I was like, holy shit, can we keep showing this to them, or are the parents going to have our heads?
One of the classics from the early 80s, one of Spielberg's greatest movies, E.T.
Yes.
If you watch it now, unless you got a hand on the copy of the original version, that scene where they take off on the bikes towards the end, the army or the government officials were holding shotguns.
Yeah.
They took that out.
Really?
They're holding walkie-talkies now.
No.
If I ever get you to come out to this house, I got it on Blu-ray, and I think I think I have both versions on there.
That's madness.
When they re-released it in theaters, I remember taking my wife to see it, and I remember that scene. I was like, son of a gun, they actually did change it. Give me a break.
One day, somebody's going to CGI that clip of Jake the Snake, and they're going to put it on Blu-ray. And I'm going to be like, oh, my God, that's so cool.
Oh,
putting the Cobra on Macho Man. And it's just going to be him hitting him with a pool noodle or something to make it safe for the kids.
Oy.
Hey, listen. Hey, I don't know what the point was originally, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I guess you know what? If Tony Khan wants to do something with that hour, they could have them reenact scenes from all our favorite 80s PG movies.
Out of curiosity, I heard that yesterday they aired something about the day in the life of Tony Khan or something. And it was during the draft, and he was wearing a neck brace, and somebody said, "What is he doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I think the guy insinuated it was a wrestling thing," and Tony Khan was mumbling, "You take a pile driver and tell me you didn't need this," or something like that. And I'm like, "Is this guy for real?"
Good for him, man. Listen, he's
Look,
living out
I'm
his
only
dream.
keeping kayfabe, but come on,
I'm not going to hate on him.
you're on an NFL Films broadcast. You're on an NFL broadcast, and you're still selling it. You look like a goof. The NFL already doesn't take people takes people seriously too much.
It ain't that bad. You should have come in on crutches and the neck brace and had somebody feed him.
So, speaking of people being injured, Rob, I think you added this. Can you give us some context about the Rikishi and Jimmy Uso?
Rikishi posted something online like, please keep my son in your prayers.
I'll read it to you.
He's going through a tough. Yeah, go ahead.
Dear God, capital God. Pray for strength and health to continue. Hashtag Jimmy Uso. This is where it gets weird. Hashtag Jimmy Uso. Hashtag WWE. Hashtag Bloodline. But hashtag Anoa'i. Hashtag Fatu. Stay prayed for my boy. Hashtag Jonathan Fatu. That is Jimmy's actual name is Jonathan.
So I mean, what I read is that it caused people to do like welfare checks on Jimmy Uso because they thought something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, is this kayfabe or is this real? And I don't if it's kayfabe, I don't appreciate it.
Well, I'll give you
because
this.
The man. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
On the according to Fightful, they were like, "What the hell's going on?" So SRS he went and asked, and WWE sources are telling him that Jimmy Uso is fine. That's it. So they're saying he's fine. WWE officially is saying nothing. Rikishi is being very cryptic and dramatic, and we've heard nothing from Jimmy. Naomi hasn't tweeted anything, and she's been tweeting like normal for work stuff. So, sorry, that's weird.
I mean, it's one thing to try to stir up some interest. It's another thing to cause a panic. And I didn't appreciate that at all. I thought that was really in poor taste. And I don't get offended by things. I'm not offended, but I think it's wrong to do something like that. Like now you put some things in motion that you shouldn't have, because now people are wondering. The man already has a troubled past, so now you're highlighting that, right? You're causing. You could get him in trouble with his employer, right? Because if they think there's something wrong, they could act upon that. You don't know how they're going to act upon that. I really, if I was Jimmy Uso, I would ask him to stay off Twitter.
Yeah.
Because if he's not advocating for his son, which is fine. I mean, you're allowed to do that. I mean, you can say whatever you want, pretty much. But
and he does.
It's always about how his son's being treated unfairly, blah blah blah. So he's always got an axe to grind. So to me, it's more like about him than about what's happening to Jimmy Uso, because Jimmy Uso's not complaining, right? And now, number two, to set something in motion like this where it could seriously impact his life. I'm talking about Jimmy, his wife, his employer. it's in really poor taste. And for him not to follow up with like, "Hey, my son is fine. I'm just, worried about his career or whatever," is, I don't want to say despicable. That's too strong of a word because I'm not. It's not like he, there are despicable acts in the world, and this is one of them. But it's in poor taste.
Foolishness.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good word. Foolishness.
It's foolishness if there's nothing going on. If there's something going on, okay, I get it. But also then Rikishi's a little too old to be part of that generation that tweets out vague things to get attention when something's actually wrong. Like there's that group, there's that age group that does that on social media. He's not in that group. He's too old for that.
If it is something wrong, it's none of his. It's not for him to say.
I mean, as a father, he might want to say
yeah, but I
something.
mean, he's putting Jimmy Uso's business out into the world.
Yeah.
And if Jimmy's having a problem, that is a private thing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that.
I don't get it. Hopefully we find out something. Hopefully it's nothing, because like a best case scenario, it's everything you just described. Because that would mean best case scenario, oh, he's healthy and okay.
So
that's the hope.
So there's been talk for a long time about the person playing the role and their social media, which way should it sway? Would the simplest solution be you have two accounts on Twitter, on Instagram? One, your personal account. The other one, your character account. Wouldn't that resolve this? So Rikishi, if he had put this out as Rikishi, the character, then people would have known, okay, this has got to be some sort of storyline, or he's trying to drum something up storyline wise for his son, where because it came from an account where in all honesty, probably 90% of what he posts out there is him as a person. Well, that grayed the lines a little bit too much. And I think it's been one of those things with wrestling, like what you see on a wrestling show will get condemned to no end. You see it on a sitcom TV show, it's okay. And you don't, Tom Cruise in how many movies blows shit up left and right. James Bond kills people. Nobody goes after Daniel Craig. Nobody went after Pierce Brosnan about that. But if a wrestler playing his role beats the crap out of someone and incapacitates them in a storyline, oh, this is too much. This isn't good for kids, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, but that TV show you're watching on the other network has the same level of violence or more so, and you're okay with them watching that.
Can I throw something at you?
No, you can't, because we're on screens right now. I don't need to duck.
We can edit it in post. Make it look like
no. What I was going to say is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're coming off a little bit hypocritical, and let me explain my point of view, and you tell me where I'm not seeing it. Because last week you didn't want to watch the AEW show because you didn't like the direction they went.
Mm-hmm.
But that's similar to what you're just saying about a movie. In the movies, people do the same things, right? They get hit with chairs or they get injected with needles, and it's part of a movie, and that doesn't bother you. But this wrestling thing, it's part of a storyline. Isn't that kind of the same thing? It almost sounds like the same thing to me. And you're condemning AEW for doing what's happening in movies, but it's all in the end, it's all make believe.
Can I play your attorney for a second, Encyclopedia?
Please, because I don't even want to entertain this.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client has just stated that people take the actions of wrestlers on television too far and too much to heart, and then confront them and attack them in their regular life over them for the things that they do in character. He merely stated last week that he would personally not watch that show because of its content. There is nothing wrong with turning off your television or changing the channel.
No, agreed.
He's not coming at them saying, oh no, I don't think these people should be on TV anymore. He was just saying, I don't like that content. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do we live in a country where we're simply not allowed to dislike things and change the channel? Is that the America you want? And I ask that you return. If you want the America of freedom, of choice, then I ask that you return a verdict of not guilty for the encyclopedia.
Well, nobody's condemning the encyclopedia. I'm just asking a question.
I don't know. Did that get your point across?
I guess you didn't want to answer it, so.
I didn't view it as the same thing at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I asked the question. That is your answer. There we go. We're just having a conversation. Just curious.
For the record, if there were a jury, there would be tears streaming at the end of that.
Well, yeah, you do talk for a very long time, so I mean, it is torturous.
Fine, he's not guilty. Just
that wasn't very long at all.
All right. So moving on.
I merely was saying, what I was talking about was there was a lack of blurring the lines on social media, and what happened on AEW All Out was a TV show. That was clear. What Rikishi did was not clear. That's what I was trying.
Yeah, no, agreed. Okay, I got it.
That's why I wasn't sure where your point was coming from.
I was asking for clarification. So
let me tell you this though: if I were Jimmy or Jay, or Solo, or one of the other 15 of Rikishi's kids, the last thing I would want is my father to have a burner account online to find, and then people find out the stuff that he's saying with my family name attached to it. No, just tweet as Rikishi, man. But to your point, he hashtagged Jimmy Uso and then hashtagged Jonathan Fatu. Like, what are we supposed to make of that? Is just some like ultimate form of kayfabe?
I was actually going to joke that this is an old man trying to stay relevant and get people drawing attention to, he's trying to get some attention on himself.
Maybe
that's what it felt like. It felt like a desperate attempt to get some attention, but I mean,
you know why?
Because the attention you want.
Yeah,
why are you using your son's name?
Well, he did it with Jey Uso, complaining about his storylines lately, which is from the same account, which is where I'm sure if this whole thing with Jimmy was meant to be a storyline in Rikishi's mind, well, on the same account, he was complaining about Jey Uso's lack of credible storyline.
Is he trying to pull a Dave LaGreca? And where LaGreca had that rant that then became part of what went into the show, what AEW was doing? Like, is that, or not AEW, but what WWE was doing? Like, is that what he's trying to be, the new LaGreca? Because, I mean...
No, because everybody knows when LaGreca's going off on his rants, he's just him being LaGreca. I spent 20 minutes walking with LaGreca to a show once, not even at the time, not even listening to his content at that point. He actually is a very nice, calm guy. What I see on Busted Open, in my mind, and I'm sorry if I hope he's not insulted by this, not that he's going to watch this, but if he does, I hope he knows I'm saying this in total respect and admiration for him. I think he's totally playing the character on Busted Open.
Sure. I would imagine so. You can't be entirely yourself on that.
No, what do they say about wrestlers? Like the ones that get over are like, it's their own personalities amped up by,
Mm-hmm. Y'all hear his rant this week about Danielson and McGuinness? Oh, he went off. It was great. He was pissed. Like, that's a match I want, but it's because I know about their history. Not because of some little 2-minute promo, not some 2-minute montage they put together, but they could have had them promo and sell that match.
I'm a little curious. I am a little curious about the fans that, and look, I'll be honest, I haven't watched any of Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. I've heard about it. I haven't watched any of it. I'm a little curious if you're a fan that has no idea about that history, if you give a crap.
I don't think a 2-minute montage does it.
You don't think they've been promoting this all along? I mean, McGuinness has been insulting Danielson for months.
No. They haven't come face to face, or even got a mic in the ring, or got a mic in the ring. Like like, you got to sell me on that match. If you're Nigel McGuinness, you go to the ring and you tell them exactly why you're so pissed off. You don't let like some narrated clip by Shivani do it. It's a good promo hits harder.
I think this goes into AEW a lot of times assumes that everybody watches all the content and knows the whole story, and they don't.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say the same. I agree with you 100%.
But you could, I mean, you brought it up, and we've been saying it, for a while. Nigel McGuinness has been bashing Danielson at the commentary desk for Collision for the entire run of that show. You could have built it just off that, and then maybe at the commentary desk you continue it where Shivani goes, "What is your problem with him?" And at the commentary desk, he could reference the history he's had with him, because then to watch all the content with Danielson and Nigel and lead it into this match on really how many, they're not going to dedicate that much airtime to it. That would have at least been a way to do it. Yeah, because I'll be honest, when I was watching that 2-minute clip you just referenced, I was saying to myself, it's almost too quick. Like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? Okay, yeah, they had a bunch of matches and beat the crap out of each other like over 10 years ago. That's all I really got out of it. Like, who won the series? Who came out on top in the end? Was it Danielson or was it Nigel?
Who went on to Stardom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Danielson came out ahead. I think, right?
Well, that's what I mean.
And he didn't even have to do anything.
That's the story. It's like, and this is what LaGreca, he's just foaming at the mouth on this one, and it's true. Like, that's the story. It could be envy, it could be jealousy that you took this from me. It could be any of those things, but they didn't. I don't know. They had it almost to that point where he could have gone on that rant on the air while at commentary, and I feel like they dropped the ball with the promotion of that match.
And he cut a promo last week, Nigel, explaining the whole why he was going after him, and I thought it fell flat. I was like, I've been hearing about how great Nigel McGuinness is for years. I got to tell you, his mic work trying to hype up this match, I was like, I'm actually lost it. I've actually lost interest in this.
Yeah, I also don't think that was the backstage one, right?
Or no. There was one that he went in
the ring.
Okay.
He was never really known for his mic work. He was more known for his work rate in the ring.
That's fair. That's
what Ring of Honor was. Ring of Honor was not big on interviews. It was more about being the best in the ring. And he was the first pure champion, and then he's the longest reigning pure champion, and then he won the belt. And he often wrestled injured, and gutted out a lot of matches. He had some great matches with Morishima and Danielson and Samoa Joe. And
so, would it have been better then to show a beat up at home Bryan Danielson, and he's the one cutting the promo, but not, in an angered state, just more like, I don't believe you've been holding on to this anger that you apparently have for me for this long, and where's this coming from? He could have given the history as somebody that's at home beaten up, but I'm going to make every attempt to get in there and have this match because he supposedly hasn't been cleared. I mean, really, where is this going? Because all of a sudden, I really wonder if they're escalating him. I mean, I've theorized that he was going to drop the belt at Tacoma, Washington anyway, but I'm wondering if they did a pivot here. There were rumors that they were considering Darby Allin to be the next guy to be champion, and I wonder if the plan was Darby was going to be the one to beat Danielson at Wrestle Dream, and they've come to the conclusion that Darby's not the draw that they think he is without Sting. So they're pulling back the reins and they're inserting Moxley into the spot.
I don't know. I would have liked to seen. I think to me a decent build would have been one time at the commentary guest Nigel just loses his shit and just goes on like, I'm sick of Danielson, I'm sick of him, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that, and Danielson come out and being like, what's your fucking problem, man? All right.
Yeah.
We wrestled 10 years ago. All right. I kicked your ass then. I'll kick your ass now. You don't wrestle anymore. So what's your problem? What are you going to do about it? Right. I mean, bitch mo, and then have McGuinness disappear for a little while and then have him come back and start wrestling again and be like, all right, now I'm wrestling. Now I'm in shape, and let them continually snipe at each other until finally, Nigel gets ready for a match. Like I hear what you said. They kind of just jumped ahead. Let's get this match going.
Well, and another way to do what you're saying, Nigel, for someone that wasn't known for his promo work, his commentary has been great, and that hate for Danielson has come out. So he could have utilized that. He could have went off on that tirade as you said, and maybe if they waited and they only started doing that to really lead into this match over the last few weeks, have McGinnis do that whole thing. We know Danielson's home injured, as I was saying. Well, okay, we're going to try to get Danielson on the phone or connect him, get him on the FaceTime and ask him if he could delve into what's going on. Because like Nigel does that rant that you're suggesting, throws his headset down, walks off the air. Well, what the hell happened here? All right, maybe we could get through to Brian Danielson, see if he could come on. We know he's recovering right now. Maybe he could shed some light on here. And how interesting would that have been? Nigel cuts this promo, throws his headset off. Well, now social media starts talking. And then they reveal, well, we're going to try to get Brian Danielson on the broadcast to figure out what the hell's going on here. That would also drive some eyeballs over to Collision last minute. Maybe the ratings might have dipped up a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Saturday night, how many people are actually staying home anyway? So they're probably watching it on DVR if they're going to bother anyway. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, they could have had them both doing commentary at the same time and sniping at each other. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different angles they could have went at from what they're doing now. They're kind of shoehorning this thing together, and like Anthony said, it might be because of a change in plans.
Yeah.
Right. They got to get that shot away from Darby, so Darby loses to Moxley, and then Moxley now gets the shot. I don't know, but it was a match. I mean, they were great matches back in the day when the two of them fought. I don't know how good they're going to be now. I mean, Nigel hasn't been in the ring in years. Danielson's kind of breaking down. So I don't know what we're going to get out of these two. But, I guess that's what we're getting.
Yeah. But like you both said, they could have made us want to see it. Like, have that same thought. I don't know what either of these two guys could do now, but I want to see it. Like, that's the feeling I should have. You should, like, that's the feeling we should all have about that match if you promote it right. Like, they're going to try to kill each other.
Yeah, I mean,
or
McGinnis
is going to try to take him out, and Brian Danielson's just arrogant enough to think he's just going to show him up.
I mean, Nigel's brought up Danielson's family. I mean, there's all kinds of angles you can go with this. It's just they have a history. You should be tapping into that, not throwing, like you said, a 2-minute promo.
Yeah.
Have Nigel blame Danielson for losing his career. It's when I wrestled you is when I got sick, and then I lost all my other opportunities, and I had to take time away from the ring, and I finally, got back, and now I'm going to show you what happens when you do that to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
When you take everything they ever had, or blah blah blah, and go on and on and on. You know how it goes. I mean, wrestling promos are generally, it's all how you deliver them, right? It's not really the words per se; it's how you deliver it. So
yeah, and let me tell you something else. Nobody could say to another wrestler arrogantly, well, let's say, hey, I went ahead because you weren't good enough to do it anymore. Nobody could tell another pure wrestler that they're not good enough, quite like Brian Danielson. Like, he kind of gives off that real jackass vibe sometimes when he gets into that I'm the greatest mode. Those are the two people you want to see fight. Anyway. Oh, that's sad.
what?
What's
I saw some news on our list there about Adam Cole and Britt Baker. What's that?
Yeah, I mean,
it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Cole recently mentioned that he's moving back to Pennsylvania, and I guess where this all started with is the whole, does everybody hate Britt Baker? Right, from a few weeks ago when there was a lot of speculation about how she's got a lot of heat in the locker room, and really Tony Khan's the only one that really likes her, that she doesn't have a lot of friends, that she's picked fights with MJF, and she's picked fights with some of the other women, and I read something about the speculation is that they split up. That, like I said, that Adam Cole's moving back to Pennsylvania without her, and I don't know. It's just I thought it was interesting when somebody laid out. I can't remember where I saw it, but they laid out all the issues Britt Baker's had with different people, or speculated to have with different people, and part of it was like people were saying, like, if you can't get along with Adam Cole, there's something wrong with you, because he's one of the nicest people, ever. That no one's ever had a bad word to say about him, and the fact that they split up, they're all kind of putting all the heat on her. And I don't know. Who knows? We don't know what goes on in the background, but I don't know. Her ring work is not the greatest. I mean, ever since she's come back, she's kind of been flat, and again, she's not on TV again. So I'm wondering if she's not all the way back, or is there really heat on her in the back, and they're just not using her? Because AEW, you could be on TV 1 week and be off for 12 weeks, and then back on for 2 weeks and off for 9 weeks. Wardlow, Miro, we can name 50 people we haven't seen in forever. Ricky Starks, or just, we know they're employed, but we don't see them. So I just put that on there. Like I said, it's something I had heard as a rumor, and then the article went into why Britt Baker's such a bad person. So I was like, okay, it's a lot of speculation, a lot of guesswork here going on. But
no, that's like that asshole that said when the whole Nikki Garcia Artem situation came out, somebody said, well, Nikki's had a history of not ending things well with boyfriends before and being difficult. Then I was like,
yeah.
wow.
Still doesn't deserve a punch in the mouth.
No. My honest opinion, I just think they grew apart. I don't think it's anything more than that. That's just my opinion. I really don't think there's much to it. I'm curious if she's still practicing as a dentist, because I haven't heard. I heard she had taken a hiatus for a while.
Mm.
And she seemed to be
trying to get some work done.
No,
wisdom tooth, molar.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No.
Anything back there?
Funny enough, I do have a dental appointment next month to get some stuff done. But anyway, no.
Wouldn't that be some shit?
I have one on Monday. So
what do you guys go and you realize? Wait, what are you doing here, Britt Baker?
Oh, come on!
She doesn't pull your teeth; she knocks them out.
Look, come on! Don't tell me that at some point you didn't think for a second, maybe I could do a day trip to Florida and she could be my dentist 2 times a year.
For reasons I will get into in another episode, I will never go to Florida for dental work again.
Sounds like you should be on OTBS since they talk about other stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a story I need to hear at some point, but not right now. We're coming up on an hour and a half.
Yeah,
we're coming up on. I have to go to work in a couple hours, so.
Which involves him getting up out of bed and walking over to his desk. My heart bleeds.
I'm actually sitting at the desk I work at, so.
I know that, but yeah.
So you're just gonna go to sleep like this.
But I didn't say where you were sleeping. I didn't say where you're sleeping. I said you're walking from your bed to your desk. I didn't say how far that distance was.
3 feet.
Live in the dream.
I got to step over an overturned dog to get to my desk. Traffic.
That's not exactly. That's not exactly the 6 miles in the snow that our parents used to tell us.
Next thing Rob's going to tell us.
I actually have to go downstairs, so I want to get some food. Can you believe that? Awful, just awful.
Yeah, they didn't install the what was that thing they used to have between the floors back in the day? The flying buttress.
The chair that goes up. Oh, okay. I thought you meant the chair that you sit on that goes down the stairs.
Are you over
the dumbwaiter?
Yeah, the dumbwaiter. Thank you.
Dumbwaiter, yes.
I was gonna say, are you right over the kitchen or the garage? You're over the kitchen, aren't you?
I am over the kitchen.
Yeah, we can make that happen. You'd never have to leave your room.
Who says I do now?
Well, I know you got to drive your daughter sometimes to activities. Dedicated father, right there, sir.
That's right.
I do what I can.
And schedules the conjugal visits every once in a while. With who? Wow. Okay, let me text your wife here. So your husband.
And again, they can find
I'm
you
known by
on
many names
Instagram.
for a reason.
Yes.
So on that note, before we incriminate anybody anymore,
Next week we'll delve into the devil's DMs and see what's going on there.
You don't want to go there.
All right, so we thank you guys for watching, and we are, as always, Sports Frenzy Pod on Twitter, Sports Frenzy Podcast the Sports Frenzy Podcast on Instagram, and we're available on Facebook. Check out OTBS, and we will catch you guys next week. Have a great weekend, all.